How's it going, guys? So today is another great day. We're up 11.29% on the day and about 16% on the week, and I'll pull that up for you right now so you can see. So one day, here's my profit and loss as we continue on the $500 Robinhood account challenge. Okay, you can see there 11.29% on the day, up $59. That was all accompanied from CARA Therapeutics. Okay, now we go into the week. Looking at a week time frame, we're up 16.1%. So for the past week, pretty good. Not gonna lie, on $500, growing it pretty. That's pretty quick. So not phenomenally quick, but pretty quick. So we're getting up there. We've been a little choppy lately, but we're gaining some traction and we're getting back up there. So that's always good. Now we're gonna recap the trade that I took. So the trade that I really took wasn't today. It was actually yesterday, and it was on CARA Therapeutics. It was a swing trade, a one-day swing trade going into today. I will mention that it had phenomenal news break out this morning. And let me just state, this is the power of good news right here. As you can see, this went from around $12.56, $12.50, all the way up to $14.52. $2 increase based on good news. So a lot of my gain, it kind of was pure luck. It came out of the fact that CARA Therapeutics had this breaking news right in the morning, the day after I bought the stock. So that's where I made most of my money. Although, I do have to credit myself on calling out that it was the right call. Just because there was breaking news didn't mean it wasn't going to continue up. The trend did change, and we're in an uptrend, so it was going to be a one thing, probably looking for a 2 to 3% gain. And it was very well possible, but hey, I'll take this breaking news and I'll take that money and I'll run, okay? But let's go into really why I took the trade. Just based on this chart right here, this is a 5-day, 5-minute chart. You can notice that CARA Therapeutic is just downtrending. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I ended up buying in a little high. I wasn't paying close enough attention to it on this day here yesterday. I should have been buying in somewhere around in this area, the $11.80 area. I got in a little late, and I actually got in at $12.79 because I wasn't paying close attention. I got caught up doing other things. That being said, I still seen the potential that this thing had the possibility of continuing upwards into the next day, and that's why I bought it. But I'll show you more in detail why I bought it. But I got in on the stock at $12.79, which is really the peak. That being about the peak, I got in at $12.79, and I got out today at $14. I could have locked in more profit today, but I said, hey, this thing has the potential to keep going. I'm going to go ahead and put my stop at $14, which was just below the volume weighted average price. So if it broke through the VWAP, we're now downtrending. So I put it just below the VWAP. So if we broke the VWAP, I would sell my position. Okay. So I sold my position at $14. I got in at $12.79. So out at $14. So right there was $1 and what? $1.21 gain. So I made $1.21 profit on that move, so I cannot complain. I'm very happy with that. Going into more detail, the reason I really took this trade, we're going to have to back out into a 1-year time frame, and you will see that this thing just took a crap. Really just completely tanked. So people would say, why would you buy something that's downtrending like this or just gaps down? Well, most of the times when the stock gaps down, it tends to have a pretty hard bounce. Mine was accommodated by breaking news. All right. Now, if we go here, I'll draw you a trend line. This is where the obvious support is. Okay. If you just look, let me see. I got to go to 0. Right about there. Oh, whoa, no. So the support was right there on a 1-year chart. Okay. So we see this. We got the support. 1, 2, 3. And then we bounced on support. That was kind of obvious to call. After this downtrend, people would try and play a bounce play off the obvious support on the 1-year chart, which was right around the $15 area. I said I'm not going to buy there. I believe that this breaking bad news. This is the reason it tanked was because their clinical trials kind of failed and didn't come out so positive, and that's why we kind of see this big downward movement gap down. So if you're curious, it was because they had bad clinical news and clinical trials. So we tried to get a bounce off that $15 area. It was a little successful. I said the news is so strong and the downward momentum is so strong that I'm not going to buy that. I think we're going to end up coming through that support. A few people said this was a little bit risky of a trade and it was more of a gamble. People have opinions and that's what it is. But personally, I played this one on support on the pivot point right here. Old resistance becomes new support. I found that this was the old resistance or its pivot point, drew a trend line. Here we go. What happens? The stock bounces right off that line. And if I go into, so this is another thing to pay attention for, that old resistances become new supports. Okay? And old supports, or old resistances become new support, and old support becomes new resistance. With that being said, I will show you what happens, right? So we have old resistance becomes new support, and old support becomes new resistance. So paying attention to that, you can kind of get an idea as to why I bought right here. This old resistance point is a new support, a pivot point, good time to buy for a potential short swing. Now if we go back into the 5-day, 5-minute chart, you will notice, if I keep drawing, this trend line was a little off. This top one was a little off, but the support was right about here. That old support line that becomes new resistance, pre-market hits that resistance and we sell off. And that's why I closed my position when the market opened. I got out at $14. I risked 30 cents to potentially make a move back up to that resistance line and break through it and head towards 15. It didn't happen, so I just went ahead and I got out of the order, or got out of the position and stopped out. But that bottom line was spot on. The old resistance, that old pivot point became the new support. I noticed it, and that's why I bought in, knowing that this thing had the potential to continue upward momentum into this day. I did get a little lucky. I'm going to say that I did get lucky. The fact that we had breaking news right here and it went up $2 a share pre-market. Either way, I'm going to take my profits, and I'm completely happy with that. I can't complain. Now, to be honest, making this video, I can't remember if I showed you my profit and loss or not, so I'm just going to go ahead and show it to you. If I did it already once, who cares? Here it is again. So we're finishing up the day, 11.29%, $59 on that trade. And if we go into the week, we're sitting up, right there. We're sitting up 16% on the week for the $500 account challenge. So pretty good. Can't complain. So there's a few other things I did there to kind of determine my trade. I used Fibonacci retracement. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. And then I just looked at some moving averages crossing over. But basically, CARA Therapeutics is a good company. They have a good cause. They're creating new drugs from the foundation of marijuana, and they're trying to, kind of help the opioid crisis. Okay, there's a huge opioid crisis in America when people get back surgery, knee surgery, doesn't matter. All these types of surgeries and just people abusing drugs in general, and it comes from these big pharmaceutical companies making opioid-based drugs. Okay, that's the thing. They're making opioid-based drugs to help alleviate pain in people. Okay, CARA Therapeutics is working on using marijuana, which is a much healthier substitute than freaking opioids, to alleviate people's pain. And it targets pain receptors in the body rather than using opioids. Okay, so their cause is good, and that's why I follow this company. This can be a really, really good company if they can prove that their drug can make it worth it. You know what I mean? If they can prove that their drug has good trials and in the end results, their tests come out positive and it does work, this could be huge. And that's why I follow CARA Therapeutics, and that's another reason why I traded the stock. Just fundamental knowledge of the stock, and that's why I traded it, okay? It's basically simple. You take a stock, is the stock worth it to buy? CARA Therapeutics, they're trying to help end the opioid crisis by making a new drug based out of marijuana. I'll follow that. It's like, would you invest in a stock that just made a new washer and dryer, in which the washer and dryer take your clothes, put them in for you, and then when they're done drying, it takes them out and folds them? That's a no-brainer. I would buy any stock or any company that just made a new washing machine that's going to fold your laundry for you. That's genius, okay? So just taking the fundamental and simple basic understanding of a company can make all the difference right there. So beyond technical analysis and technical chart analysis, always think to yourself, what is this company doing? Is it worth it? Have you ever thought about why retail stores are getting smashed lately? Because everything's turning into e-commerce. Okay, you ever wonder why UPS and FedEx and all these companies are growing at such a fast rate? It's because the e-commerce business is growing substantially. Amazon, okay, Amazon, eBay, all these places need product shipped. I can get Amazon Prime and have something delivered to my house in like a day, rather than going out and buying it and waiting for it to be delivered to the store and then go pick it up from the store and then bring it home. I can just have the stuff delivered free of cost. So that's why retail is getting crushed, okay? So if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, retail, not to say all retail is bad, but retail is getting crushed. It's the old. It no longer makes sense, okay? But CARA Therapeutics, a company like this makes sense, okay? They're taking marijuana and utilizing it in a way that they can target pain receptors in people's bodies to help substitute the need for opioids, which are super addictive and completely ruin people's lives over an extended period of time if they continue to use such a substance. So, I mean, just right there, wholeheartedly, they got me as a customer in the stock market right there. So I think we're going to finish up there. If you like, please subscribe to my channel. I very much appreciate it. And I'm always coming out with new videos and new ideas to help people, especially as beginners, start learning and trading stocks. That's just what I love to do. I'm going to be here for a long, long time, especially when I get done with college. I'll be here full-time, 100% dedicated. I pretty much am now. What am I talking about? So if you like, please subscribe, and we'll see you next time.